The forest smelled like wet bark and cold iron. You know that smell that comes before rain? That sharp scent buried deep in the soil? Imagine standing in it, alone. Midnight pressing against the trees like a living thing. No wind, no insects, nothing except the sound of your own breathing slowly turning uneven. And somewhere ahead, a dog stops moving. Not a pet. Not the happy suburban animal sleeping beside a fireplace. No. This one stands low and silent between the pines, its stay stiff as carved stone, ears pointed forward, eyes reflecting silver in the dark. A German shepherd. Then it disappears. That's the moment your instincts betray you. Because the silence after movement is always worse than the movement itself. You turn your flashlight toward the trees. Empty. But something is circling you. People think fear comes from seeing danger. It doesn't. Fear comes from knowing something sees you first. And German shepherds were built for exactly that. Long before they became police dogs in military legends, they were engineered with terrifying purpose. In 1899, a German cavalry officer named Max von Stephanitz looked at ordinary herding dogs and saw something more. He didn't want a companion, he wanted perfection. Intelligence sharpened into instinct, loyalty fused with aggression, a working animal capable of operating beside humans in chaos. What emerged was not just a breed, it was a machine wrapped in fur. The shoulders of a German shepherd are designed for relentless endurance. Their rear legs drive forward with wolf-like efficiency, allowing them to sprint, pivot, and strike with frightening precision. But the true horror sits inside the skull. A German shepherd's nose contains more than 200 million scent receptors. Humans have around 6 million. Think about that for a second. The sweat on your skin, the adrenaline leaking through your pores, the microscopic scent particles drifting from your shoes into the dirt. This animal can map all of it like a living radar system. You can hide from eyes. You cannot hide from a nose built by evolution and perfected by human obsession. And maybe that's why they became the preferred shadow of law enforcement around the world. Police handlers say a trained shepherd can detect hesitation before a suspect even runs. Some swear the dogs know who's dangerous before the officers do. But here's the disturbing question nobody likes to ask. What exactly does the dog see in us? Because there are moments, quiet moments, when German shepherds stop behaving like pets entirely. Their eyes lock onto something invisible. Their body freezes. Their breathing changes. And handlers who have worked with them for decades will tell you the same thing in hushed voices. When the shepherd notices something, pay attention. In 2013, a family in rural Texas reported their German shepherd refusing to enter the garage for 2 straight nights. The dog growled low at the darkness every evening around 2 a.m., pacing, whining, refusing commands. The owners thought it was strange, until police discovered an armed fugitive hiding inside the attic crawlspace above the garage. The dog knew long before the humans did. Imagine that realization. Something in your own home, watching, breathing, and the only soul aware of it is the animal staring into the dark. Now picture a battlefield, mud swallowing boots, gunfire echoing over shattered buildings. Somewhere in the smoke, a German shepherd runs directly toward danger while humans dive away from it. During both World Wars, these dogs carried messages across active combat zones, located wounded soldiers, and guarded trenches in absolute darkness. Think about the nerve required for that. Not courage. Conditioning beyond fear itself. Their hearing is so precise they can detect frequencies humans will never notice. A shepherd can hear footsteps through walls, distinguish distant engines, and isolate sounds buried beneath chaos. That's why military handlers trust them in situations where technology fails. Because machines glitch. Instinct doesn't. And here's where things become unsettling. The German shepherd's intelligence is almost too adaptive. Researchers studying canine cognition found the breed capable of learning complex task patterns after only a handful of repetitions. They don't just obey commands, they anticipate outcomes. That means the dog watching you might already know what you're about to do before you do it. What if a creature could smell fear chemically? Because technically, it can. When humans panic, the body releases stress hormones through sweat and breath. German shepherds pick up those changes instantly. Your heartbeat accelerates. Your scent profile shifts. Tiny biochemical alarms scream into the air, and the dog reads all of it. That's why experienced handlers never show panic around working shepherds. The animal mirrors emotional energy with terrifying efficiency. Calm handler, calm dog. Nervous handler, different story. There's an old canine saying whispered among trainers. The shepherd doesn't make mistakes. Humans do. And sometimes those mistakes become nightmares. In 1998, a burglary suspect in Los Angeles hid inside an abandoned warehouse after fleeing police. Officers released a trained German shepherd named Rex into the darkness. Witnesses later described hearing only silence for nearly 30 seconds. Then one scream. The dog had tracked the suspect through total darkness using scent alone. No flashlight, no visibility. Just instinct moving silently through blackness. Imagine being hunted by something you cannot see. But beneath the fear lies something strangely beautiful. German shepherds form bonds so intense they border on obsession. A properly trained shepherd will place itself between danger and its handler without hesitation. Not because it's ordered to, because it chooses to. That loyalty is why families trust them with children, why soldiers cried beside them in war zones, why rescue workers carried them from disaster sites like fallen comrades. But loyalty this deep comes with a darker edge. A shepherd without guidance can become dangerously unstable. Their intelligence demands purpose. Without structure, boredom mutates into destruction. Anxiety becomes aggression. The same mind capable of heroic protection can spiral into territorial violence if neglected. You're not owning an animal, you're managing a force, and maybe that's what unsettles people most. The realization that beneath the domestic image exists a predator still carrying echoes of wolves. Watch a German shepherd lock onto movement sometime. Really watch it. The head lowers, the eyes narrow, muscles tighten beneath the fur like coiled cables. Every ancient instinct buried in canine DNA awakens at once. For a brief second, civilization disappears. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night because a dog somewhere started barking? Not random barking. That deep, deliberate bark that sounds different, heavy, focused, certain. Your body reacts before your brain does because humans evolved alongside dogs for thousands of years. Somewhere deep inside your nervous system, you understand what that bark means. Danger is near. German shepherds are masters of controlled intimidation. Their bark alone has been shown to stop intruders without physical contact. Deep chest resonance, sudden, explosive force. A warning carrying evolutionary terror older than language itself. And intruders know it. Former burglars interviewed in criminal psychology studies repeatedly listed large shepherds as one of the strongest deterrents possible. Not because the dogs always attack, but because nobody wants to test whether they will. There's another story handlers rarely talk about publicly. Search and rescue teams in avalanche zones sometimes rely on German shepherds to locate bodies buried beneath snow. Think about the emotional weight of that. Entire mountains silent under winter storms, while a dog moves carefully across the surface, nose twitching, searching for traces of human life beneath frozen death. One rescue worker described watching his shepherd suddenly stop during a blizzard in Switzerland. The dog pawed the snow once, then sat silently, 6 feet below them, a missing skier. The handler later said the shepherd found the victim faster than thermal drones. How? That's the unnerving part. Even science struggles to fully explain the limits of canine scent detection. And maybe we don't want to know. Because once you realize an animal can smell grief, fear, adrenaline, sickness, even death itself, you start wondering what else it understands. Then there are the eyes. People talk about German shepherd eyes differently than other dogs. Not softer, sharper, more deliberate. Eye contact from a shepherd feels measured, almost analytical, like the animal is calculating emotional shifts behind your face. Some owners love that intensity. Others find it deeply unnerving. And honestly, both reactions make sense. A shepherd studies people constantly. Posture, tone, breathing, movement, weakness, confidence. Every interaction becomes data. That's why experienced trainers say the breed doesn't just need exercise. It needs mental warfare. Give a shepherd meaningless routines and the mind begins inventing its own purpose. Patrol patterns, territory fixation, hypervigilance. It starts acting less like a household pet and more like a sentry trapped in civilian life. In 2019, firefighters responding to a house fire in Colorado discovered something extraordinary. A German shepherd named Luna had repeatedly re-entered the smoke-filled home to pull family members toward exits. Witnesses described the dog disappearing back into flames after each rescue attempt. No command. No training for heroics that extreme. Just raw protective instinct overriding survival itself. Luna survived. But think about the psychology behind that moment. Most animals flee fire automatically. This dog ran into it again and again. That kind of devotion is difficult to comprehend because humans rarely encounter loyalty without self-interest. German shepherds do not think that way. To them, the pack comes first. Always. And maybe that's why losing one feels different from losing other animals. Ask anyone who has buried a shepherd. They'll often describe it less like losing a pet, and more like losing a guardian who had been silently watching over their life for years. A shadow at the edge of every room, a heartbeat in the dark. But shadows can protect, or consume. There's a reason criminals fear trained shepherds more than weapons sometimes. A weapon lacks instinct. A shepherd adapts. It corners, predicts movement, pursues relentlessly. Their bite force alone can exceed 230 psi, but the true danger lies in targeting behavior. Properly trained shepherds don't bite wildly. They latch with purpose, precision. That's what separates fear from chaos. And here's the part that keeps some handlers awake at night. A shepherd's emotional state can shift in seconds if trust is broken. Abuse, neglect, inconsistent leadership. These things fracture the dog psychologically. When that happens, you aren't dealing with ordinary aggression anymore. You're dealing with confusion wrapped around power. A confused shepherd is one of the most unpredictable animals in domestic life. So why do humans keep choosing them? Why bring something this intense into our homes? Because deep down people crave guardians. We always have. From ancient wolves circling early campsites to modern canine units patrolling city streets, dogs became living bridges between civilization and the wild. And the German Shepherd stands at the center of that bridge. Not fully tame, not fully wild, something balanced uneasily between both worlds. Maybe that's why they dominate cinema, military history, police work, and survival culture. They represent a fantasy humans desperately want to believe in. That something powerful is standing watch while we sleep. But power always carries a price. Here's the final thing nobody tells you about German Shepherds. They remember. Not just commands, experiences, emotions, betrayal, kindness, fear. Handlers often report shepherds reacting differently to specific people years after traumatic events. The dog's memory stores emotional associations with frightening accuracy. That means every interaction matters. Every raised voice, every act of trust, every moment of violence. The animal beside you is recording all of it. And if you think that sounds unsettling, imagine what the world looks like through its senses. Endless scent trails hanging invisibly through the air. Heartbeats shifting in darkness. Tiny sounds hidden behind walls. Emotional signals leaking from human bodies every second. A German Shepherd doesn't merely live in your world. It experiences a far larger one layered invisibly over ours. So tonight, when you hear a dog bark somewhere beyond your window, pause for a moment before you ignore it. Because there was once a time humans survived specifically because dogs noticed danger first. And German Shepherds? They never lost that instinct. Even now, somewhere in the world, one stands awake in absolute darkness while its family sleeps. Ears twitching, nose testing the air, eyes fixed towards something no human has noticed yet. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe the oldest partnership in human history is still working exactly as intended. A silent guardian staring into the dark so you don't have to. And if you ever find yourself alone at night, deep in the woods, and everything suddenly goes quiet before a German Shepherd appears between the trees, pay attention to the silence. Because the terrifying thing isn't that the dog found you. It's wondering what made the dog stop in the first place.